Welcome to Shook Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture of literature. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with part 3 of a 4-part series, pages 205 through the conclusion of The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Dalton, do you have a little bit of a rundown here?
I feel like at this point, no one would notice if we just replayed part 2 or even part 1.
I am not sure that I didn't reread part 1 or 2.
Because, the same thing.
Yeah.
Bit of a summary here. If we board you by land, let us bore you by sea.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. We make it to the coast. We scavenge a bit. We steal a man's clothes, leave him naked. We get shot with an arrow. We light somebody on fire with a flare gun. And, wouldn't you know, the man gets sick and dies. And the boy finds a new family. And it's over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've tried to read this many times. This has always been on my did not finish, however you want to refer to that. DNF. We get the booktube talk, the lingo. And when I finally finished this, and I put my little note at the end saying when I finished it, I sat down and realized I know why I didn't finish it. Because I didn't fucking need to. Because you know what's going to happen. And it's just nothing. And I can't figure out why this book is so popular. I got nothing.
Yeah, it's not it's not well written. There's nothing revelatory in it. The mystery is all the bad mystery. There's no good mystery here. There are no real character moments. Mm-hmm. On a minutiae level, the structure is bad.
Yep.
On a macro level, the story is bad.
Yep.
But, and this is where I think it gets away with a lot of things, it's super fucking pretentious. Cormac McCarthy's prose is super pretentious. So super pretentious people read this and think, oh, it strikes me at my very core.
Yeah, core.
It strikes me so deep. It's so well written.
Every now and then, there's a little line, a little tidbit in this. I'm like, all right, that was pretty.
It's the pretentious side of you.
Maybe that's just the pretentious side shining. I'm like, all right, that was pretty. But no, I finished it and I sat it down. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm like, no, fuck, we have no luck with road books. So if anyone has a suggestion for something that's called With the Road, On the Road, In the Road,
For the Road,
Through the
Road,
I would love, we might as well read it at this point. And just every road book we read is terrible. I'm furious.
Got this new 400-page novel, Why Did the Chicken Cross the Road?
Road. I feel like we were just going down. We had On the Road, now it's just The Road. I expect our next one to just be Road.
Then
we should watch Roadhouse. That movie's terrible.
Then we'll have Road after. Weren't you named after Roadhouse?
I was named after Patrick Swayze's character in Roadhouse. Thank you very much.
Say that louder.
I was named after Patrick Swayze's character in Roadhouse. Thank you very much.
Do you notice how when he says that he has the swagger, I was named after?
Thank you very much. I'm a suave bouncer who goes town to town, cleaning up the local honky-tonk and getting the woman and then moseying to the next town. My parents are so disappointed in me. So anyway, let's try to talk about...
Your father's watching this right now. Well, I tried, son.
Got a good name. He's got a good name.
Started off well.
Here comes all the Patrick Swayze memes on my Twitter. It's dead now. It's dead. Let's try to talk about something in this because it's just not good. My point I've been making through the entirety of this, and I keep pushing, is it is not realistic to me.
No.
This is a post-apocalyptic text, and it does do a decent job of making you think. It does.
From time to time.
I give it that. But there's every part that we've read, there's something that just irks me so much. I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. You don't leave the bunker.
No.
You take the tomatoes, and when you shoot someone with a flare gun, they don't spontaneously combust and burn.
And you don't go after them.
No!
They have a bow and arrow.
They have weapons, and they've shot you.
And you're trying to invade their home.
The best you do is shoot them and run.
Yeah, you do your... If you have the energy and the mobility to go after them, you've got the energy and mobility to keep on keeping on.
True.
So you do it.
So, maybe I'm wrong here.
And a little thing along that same line there. Afterwards, it was noting that he hobbled. which that is not, no. You get shot where I'm putting together that he got shot, it swells up so that you're not bending your leg. Mm-hmm. So you're not hobbling. You're walking like you've got a peg leg.
Yep.
Like it's not a hobble. It's just not bending.
I've never shot a flare gun. I've never been shot with a flare gun. But I don't imagine it's like a bullet that just pierces and explodes and you're on fire.
We saw it in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Right? It's like a Roman candle, man.
Yeah.
I've been hit with a Roman candle.
Well, it burns very hot.
It does
it's
burn
magnesium,
very hot.
Right?
But you know what happens when you get hit something that burns very hot? You burn right there, but you don't just incinerate.
Yeah. Well, but I think what we're getting into is the bad writing. Because we have no reason to think he did incinerate. But we've got absolutely nothing in the text to tell us that he did not.
No. And that flare was powerful enough to just put him down.
Well,
he was done.
And you had immaculate aim with a fucking flare?
Yeah.
Immaculate aim with a flare to hit one person and set them ablaze, while the woman who is right behind that person in the same room is untouched?
At a distance, through a window, I believe.
Yeah.
No.
So imagine, they're on the road in the scene, mm-hmm. Your average road to bedroom window distance.
Yeah. I'm a hell of a shot with a pistol. Damn good shot. But even given, I think 60 rounds, I'm probably only going to hit 55 times, and I'm trained in that. You don't just pick up a flare gun you've never used before and just shoot somebody immediately point like that.
While emaciated, after having been shot in the knee, while taking cover.
Unbelievable. It ruins the story for me. And that is my biggest complaint with this. That is what drove me nuts. Please say something. I just want to vent.
Well, there's a little bit of suspension of disbelief anytime you get into a text.
There has to be, but there's a limit.
Yeah, especially when the world you're setting up, you set up a world that is supposedly ultra-realistic.
Yes. And you want me as the reader to envelop myself into this world. And I would assume the point of this text is to make you question those moral lines. That's a big part of what I took from this. Like, what would you do in this situation? And in order to do that, you have to have a hyper-realistic text. You have to have a hyper-realistic look into a post-apocalyptic world. And you can't just pepper it with bullshit. Anyway, I'm done.
Well, at the beginning of your rant, you said something that I think will lead pretty closely into my next point.
Okay.
You said, I've never shot a flare gun.
Correct.
We get something on page 239 that tells us a little bit about our protagonist, because we have surprisingly little about our protagonist.
I was really hoping you were going to say, we're going to learn how.
He tried to remember what he knew about boats. Dalton, what do you know about boats?
Boats are boats, man. You don't really forget about a boat.
What do you know about boats?
What do I know about boats?
What do you know about boats?
They float.
Yeah.
They're water-faring vessels.
Yeah.
You put enough liquor on them, I'm going to have a good time on them.
That's all you got, though, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Why?
Because I'm not a boating person. Unless you're like a specific boat person, you don't know much about boats.
You either live on the coast or you're rich. Right?
True.
If you're inland and you own a boat, are you middle or lower class?
Well, I would argue, yes.
You're talking about the Ozarks.
Yeah. Because, everybody owns a fishing boat. But that's a different kind of boat.
Yeah.
It's not a...
Yeah, this is not...
Yeah.
This
fishing boat doesn't have a starboard side.
Right.
I caught the catfish on the starboard side.
I was on the front.
I'm furious right now. I became you in this video.
You're giving me too much credit for fury. You get awfully salty awfully quick. That's why you got the nickname.
All right. Moving on. No, I agree with you. The everyman, unless he is rich and lives on the coast and has boating history, doesn't know much about boats. Besides the fact they're just fucking boats.
So it tells us that he was probably upper middle to upper class.
And we made the argument earlier in the text that he could have perhaps been a doctor. It was inferred. So, I can give it that.
But it wouldn't only have been a doctor. You've got to imagine this is not Doctors Without Border type doctor. This is, I like my life. I'm going to take my pay and live my life with it.
I work at the local clinic. I give people medicine and they
give
me a lot of money.
No, not clinic. This guy's not at a clinic. This guy's at a hospital. If that's...
So you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that might be telling us something about... It's either telling us something about the protagonist or is telling us something about Cormac McCarthy that he just sort of assumes all people know something about boats. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. I didn't know if you were going anywhere with that.
No,
I'm still
that's-
I'm fuming. I'm fuming at this point. So, let's talk a little bit about the end, because we're not going into literary analysis as much as it needs to be mentioned here. We're having that reader's reaction. This is part 3. We're not into the analysis part.
Right.
That end is hot garbage.
Okay.
Hot fucking garbage. This whole build-up is to something special. There is something there. That's the whole point. I'm going to get him to safety. There's an answer south on the coast. There's an answer, and we're going to get there. And we know...
So if the first... Okay, so we read 205 to 287 here. Mm-hmm. If you had read the first 205 pages, or 204 pages of this novel, and the name on the front was Ernest Hemingway, would you believe that it was building to something special?
I would believe it was building to something special in the aspect of, it's not going to end well.
Oh, okay.
But no, the idea is put in your head that there's something there. But we as the reader know how this is going to end. If we had a missed scenario, mm-hmm. where, we put the kid down. Or maybe the kid picked up the gun and put the old man down. Any kind of motivation, change in character, any kind of big culminating moment that gave us something to remember besides, well, the boy watched him die, and then he cried for 3 days until another man came to be his father, and it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a happy ending, right?
Yeah. It's not the good happy ending, though.
And it's not a good ending either.
Like, even if the father struggled this entire time to get him to something, and there is something, a light at the end of the rainbow, and they finally made it. It's not good, but I can bite. But no, it again, I hate saying this all the time, but it fizzles. It absolutely fizzles.
Like
a flare! Like a flare to the chest, it fizzles. No, we get all this way, and then there's just nothingness. There was a good moment there by Cormac McCarthy where something could have been done. The father knows he's going to die. Put the boy down so he doesn't have to suffer alone.
Yeah.
The boy knows the father's going to die, and he finally picks up the reins and knows what must be done. So he puts him down. Something. Instead of just, he died, and the boy cried for a bit, and then just magically a new family appeared.
Well, but it's not a bit. We have this entire God-forsaken religiosity to this text. The man was down for 3 days.
Okay.
And covered in a shroud.
All right.
Right?
Okay. There's some analysis. That I want to save that for next week. Because that's one of my analysis points.
Yeah, I've got a little bit to go into this week, though.
Okay.
But if you're watching this and you plan to watch the review, remember this part. There's the little bit with the sandcastle. Right? Do you remember that?
I do.
They build a sandcastle and the boy says, the water's going to take it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
This is actually really good. What's going on with the romanticizing about sandcastles? What is so romantic about sandcastles?
What is so romantic about sandcastles? Yeah. It's a luxury. They're building something. They're creating. What are you getting at here?
It's ephemeral.
Okay.
It's ephemeral in nature. We build them. They are here. They are beautiful. We spent time and effort, then they are gone. Nature takes them. In this novel, nature takes civilization. Perhaps our good guy... So we've got this whole thing of the fire. We're carrying the fire, and that is never answered.
Nope.
We get right after the sandcastle, the man challenges the boy with what? Do you remember?
I don't off the top of my head, no.
Can you write the alphabet?
Okay.
And the boy says, I still can. Because they still practice writing and communication. Even if it is likely to get swept away by nature.
Okay.
So on 246, they couldn't see it very far, could they, Papa? Talking about the flare. Who? Anybody? No, not far. If you wanted to show where you were, you mean like to the good guys? Yes. Or anybody that you wanted them to know where you were. Like who? I don't know. Like God? Yeah, maybe somebody like that. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now we get little hints thrown in with the boy. Do you remember the boy when they stole the man's clothes?
He was upset. Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? And the man looked back and said, I don't even see him anymore. What does the boy say? I do.
Okay.
So the boy, we have reason to believe that the man's eyesight is failing.
Okay.
And there was a part, I think, midway through part 2 of this text, where the boy realizes someone is following them.
Okay.
And the man says, nobody's following us. And the boy says, look across the yard when they're in that house. Do you see that little boy's face? I see the little boy's face. We can't stop.
Okay.
These are people who have been following them. The boy has seen them all along.
All right. I swear to Christ, if we get to next week and we have the same analysis on this, and like this grand idea of what this is possibly about, which pissed me off, I will be even more pissed off.
Yeah.
Just saying. I just want to get that out there preliminarily.
I've got basically a master's type thesis on this for next week. So
okay.
Be prepared.
I might have the watery undergrad thought of it on the drive down here thesis to this, but we'll get there. Let's talk a little bit about carrying the fire. Let's get back to that because again, if something's being done with that, all right, and we'll get there next week. But in the base sense, we don't get anything with it. This whole time we're carrying the fire, and we literally run into a new family, and the boy's like, are you carrying the fire? And the man's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. Which is a decent moment, honestly. I give it that, but there's no payout again.
Are you carrying the fire? What?
I think he even says something along the lines like, I just looked at it, he's like, you're a little weirded out, aren't you? You don't know what's going on here. But there's just no payout with this. And if the fire is symbolic of what I don't want it to be symbolic of, and if that's my analysis, which I'm thinking we might be on the same page with this, I will be just pissed.
Yeah, well, I think that tune in next week if you're watching this, because I think there's going to be a knockdown drag out about this.
God.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to talk about with this part of the reading?
Well, I think what I wanted to get into a little bit here, because next week I want to save the analysis portion of this.
Are these, just real quick not to interrupt, are these overall or very specific?
Overall.
Okay, I've got a couple textual specific things.
Carry on.
On 275, in the 2 days' time they came to the broad tidal river where the bridge lay collapsed in the slow-moving water. They sat on the broken abutment of the road and watched the river backing upon itself and coiling over the iron trellis work. He looked across the water to the country beyond. What are we going to do, Papa? He said. Well, what are we? Said the boy. Did you catch that? The man looks at the boy and says, what are we going to do, Papa?
Okay.
And the boy says, well, what are we?
Interesting.
This is a reversal of speech roles as the boy assumes manhood. A little bit later, on the top of 278, we get a chapter, which is the first time we get anything like this that I can remember through the text. The boy thought he smelled wet ash on the wind. Do you notice it there? What is it? We're in the boy's thoughts.
It's the first time we're in the boy's thoughts as
The
opposed
boy
to
is
man.
taking. This is a transitional sentence.
Okay.
The boy owns the text at this point. The boy thought he smelled wet ash on the wind. To this point, it had been not a limited omniscient narrator, but not exactly, or not an omniscient narrator, but not quite a limited narrator. Right? We've been somewhere in the gradients between. So when the narration is comfortable stepping into the head of the boy, and with the boy, through the boy's lens, in fact, we've got the text happening through a different hold. Someone else has purchase on these words.
Okay. God, I'm so nervous for next week because this is just awful.
Yeah.
All kinds of awful. Do you have any more textual specifics you want to get into?
No, that's the last I've got for the specifics.
So I sat down and said to myself, what can we talk about this week? Because, god damn it, it's just the same fucking thing. I believe the big question here, and I've kind of played with this throughout, is the idea of moral line. What would you do in this situation? Because that is presented constantly throughout this. We get a lot of very dark imagery in this, which is actually well done. This is a very dark text in
It's
that
not
aspect.
well done, it's well conceived. It's poorly executed.
I'll give you that.
It's a very
there.
strip cover lit text.
I will give you that there. He probably wrote it on his first hard drive before the hard drive crashed and he had to rewrite it. But no, anyway. There's
These are his notes that he was going to rewrite the novel from, and then said, you know what,
That's why the dialogue is so terrible. It's notes. He is successful by having the reader put themselves in the text and say, you know, what would I do in this situation? Because that's a lot of what the questioning is. It is a survival situation, and do we do what's best for us, or do we do what used to be considered the norm, what is moral, the societal norm? The idea when we
what is best versus what is right.
What is best, what is right. When we find out that someone stole all of our stuff, we track him down. And we get there and we pull the gun on him. Why don't we shoot him?
Yeah.
Why do we strip him down and leave him bare instead of just take the stuff and go? There's that idea of morality that's played throughout this, and you can clearly see the examples of people who have lost their morality.
Who've lost a little bit of the fire.
Who've lost a little bit of the fire. Who maybe turned to the dark side of this. God damn it, it's the same thing. And they're on their own path now, and they're doing what they have to do to survive. Yet there's this one shimmering light in this boy and this man that just keeps them on the right path. And what is that? Prelude to next week.
It's the fact that the father keeps talking to God.
Yeah. That's where we're going with this, isn't it?
Which, you know, I mean, just because I'm an atheist doesn't mean everyone should be. But
I think we can argue some good stuff next week. I really don't have much more for this, honestly. There's not a lot to talk about these this third part.
Especially the way we're doing this for the channel is sort of breaking it down so the third part is the lightest reading. With this little of this text, boy, it's just the same thing over and over again anyhow.
And that's the bitch of the matter.
And this time there's an arrow involved.
And this time with an arrow. There's always... The ending is usually what you want to talk about the most. I mean, if you go to any book club, it's always, what happens in the end?
Right.
So you would assume that you'd always put your lightest bit of reading towards the end so you can focus on the ending. But the ending is shit. It is absolute shit.
Yeah.
Where the boy doesn't change. The boy doesn't become a man, although the text seems to infer that he's taking over manhood.
Well, he's a little bit that's there. It develops a little bit throughout the text.
I don't know.
He keeps coming up with these phrases that the man doesn't know where he got them from, right?
True.
And it's because kids are sponges, right?
Okay.
How many times have you been surprised by a child that they've said something where did they get that? And then you realize it was something you talked about a month before, but it just never left the kid. Mm-hmm. Do you have memories of that from your childhood even probably?
Okay.
Where little things, just minute details of something stick with you, right? This is why people end up being afraid of clowns, things like that. Some small detail from some small event stuck with them and perverted the rest of their memory.
But even in the end, if we want to justify, that the boy maybe changed a little, had a little bit of a growing up moment, what does he do? He transitions right into a new family where he's still going to be the boy. He has the protecting father, and now he has the mother to take care of him.
I just don't know. I just don't know why we went there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I know why we went there.
What do you mean?
I know why we went there.
Well,
I just don't want to argue into it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know what purpose it gives this text for the boy to transition to being the boy.
Yeah.
I don't know how you justify anyone being willing to adopt a kid in this world. I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, I think we're going to find out next week. I think we're going to wrap this up next week. We're going to break it down, do some literary analysis, 3 good things, 3 bad things, maybe feel a little bit better about ourselves. Probably not, because this text is terrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
But we're going to get there.
Okay.
We're going to talk about it. You want to finish it out here?
So this is what we do here on the channel. One of the things that we are making a concerted effort to do is read-alongs, where we break a novel down into 3 parts, and then a review at the end. So at least 4 parts for each novel that we read. So if you like that sort of thing, maybe hit the subscribe button and read along with us. Let us serve as your book club, if you will. And hit the like button if you've stuck around this long, because at least we kept your attention, or you fell asleep. And if you'd like to help us make more content here on Strip Coverlet, there is a link, as always, to our Patreon to be found in the description below.
Do we need to talk about our analysis?
But look at my writing. Look at all the writing I've got for this.
Okay.